you cook sometimes or take care of the meal, because that's the type of relationship that we're creating in this new day. So absolutely, I feel that we're equal, or that he sees me as equal, but he still has an old school mindset when it comes to certain aspects of being husband and wife.
Interesting. And I will get back to you because I want to know how you were able to train his mind to think different.
Hey.
How you were able to get him to see the other side of the coin on this.
Yes.
Shem, please, can you share with us, should husbands see their wives as equal?
Absolutely. I think I kind of mentioned that in the beginning. If we can get to a point where the men start to see their wives as partners,
Yes,
that word partnership, we will have less problems than we're having now. Unfortunately, a lot of men were raised with the mindset that they are the head of the home, and they somehow subconsciously see themselves above the woman. But if we can learn to become friends and go into marriage as working together, not about who's providing what, not about the role expectations, but more about, look, this is a joint effort. This is teamwork. Let's do it together. We're going to have more success.
So it's more of looking at the relationship and looking at each other as co-founder of that relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
As,
Yes, sir.
as partner. And if
Yes.
we're able to see it from that perspective, it may ease our men in how they dominate the relationship and how they expect and have their wives also be part of decision making as well.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Dr. Jason, what's your input on this?
Well, I have a lot of input, and so but you know, the thing is this: we have to understand that the creator. So when we're talking about the equality in relationship, it really shouldn't be a struggle, but it has become a struggle because we have deviated from the divine pattern. And so, number one, God created Adam and Eve in his image and likeness. And I think that one of the issues that create a lot of imbalances in marriages or relationship is identity. When God created Adam and Eve, they were equal. He said he created them to have dominion over the earth. The Bible says he created them to have dominion over the earth, not each other. And so a lot of times when there is an issue of domination, there is an issue of mistaken identity. Your husband, your identity, the man's identity may not be aligned to what he really, to who he is in the creator, and also to the wife, the same vice versa. Her identity is not clear. And so what you have, that now this is in the divine scheme of things, before society and culture and evolution of civilizations and timelines and all of that, social development, social engineering, socialization, all of that stuff, marginalization, misogyny, everybody got into a pot and cook up the soup, and they began to serve it to us. And so we decided that we are going to live according to the expectations of society, right, and not what the creator, the one who originated what it should be, you know? And so really seeing your spouse as equal. And because, you know, I'm saying this to the men, okay, what if your wife has to go out there and help you work? Is she, you know, what if she has to go out there, you expect all of this, but then she has to go out there and help you hold the family down, earn the money, and do all of that stuff. So isn't she not capable enough and deserving enough of the same honor, dignity, and respect, you know, and vice versa, you know? So I think the issue to me, the broader conversation is, where did you get the paradigm from? Who engineered you? Who engineered that belief system? Was it grandma? Was it grandpa? Was it your auntie? Was it your uncle? The familial line, society? Right. And we have to now journey back to where did this all begin?
The Huxtables. It came from the Huxtables.
The Huxtables.
I know she did.
Oh my goodness.
No, she
And
did.
the man of the house now is in prison.
Listen. Well, you know what, everybody. Well, he has enough kids to take turns to bring food and visits and stuff like that.
That is interesting. So I like the perspective of going back to creation, to the mindset of our creator. What did he have in mind? How did he see us? Your identity. You are made in the image of God. And then for us to have dominion over the earth, over everything, not over each other.
That's right.
The idea is if we are in a relationship, we are having domination over activities in the relationship, not over the human being. And that is the problem that is happening. That we are trying to control the individual decision, and either you go out, or when I tell you don't go out. Oh, you want to start a business or a new project. Oh, I'm the man in the house. I'll tell you either to start or not to start. So we are having all that power struggle. And Lakia, you were telling me earlier that the husband comes from this old school thought mentality of men dominating everything. How were you able to train his mind or to adjust his mindset to yours?
Absolutely. Well, it started with me understanding how my husband is a businessman. He's a business-minded man. And so I had to come to him as married like a business.
Can you hold on 1 second?
Yeah, there's an echo.
Yeah, a lot of echo. So maybe someone has their Facebook on. Okay. Maybe when you share this, you have your speaker on Facebook. So if you can see, let's do this. Let's do a process of elimination real quick. All right. So let me mute Dr. Jason real quick. Let me see where it's coming from. Okay, so like here, I can still see you. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, so I don't hear that feedback anymore. All right, so Dr. Jason, if you can hear me, do you have, let me unmute you real quick. All right. Okay, so Dr. Jason, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, all right, so you have this shared on Facebook, on your Facebook, right?
I believe, you know what? I tried to share a link. It should probably be on there. I sent it through. I don't know if it's there right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to I'm wondering why I'm hearing the feedback from your end.
From my end?
Yeah. Are you on Instagram, right? You don't have this live on Instagram. All right.
No, I'm not. I checked. It's not on Facebook as yet. I sent it. It didn't publish on Facebook. So I'm just here. I'm going to share it after we're off.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering why I'm hearing that feedback. So
what kind of feedback?
It's like you are listening to a radio station.
Yeah, like there's an echo.
Radio station, and then typically you're supposed to turn your radio down in order to talk.
Yeah, I'm wondering why, because this office is airtight. And I'm not listening to anything else.
Okay. All right.
How about now?
It's still the same thing. So do me a favor. Check out from Zoom and then check in again.
Okay.
So maybe that will fix it. So use the same link to check in again.
Got you.
All right, maybe that will fix it. All right, Lakia.
Yes, sir. Okay, so let me just go ahead and make it clear. My husband does not feel that he is dominant over me. Let me just go ahead and say that. When I say old school, I mean as far as just the provision. He is a hardworking man. Like the man, goes out there, he provides for his family. So I mean, by that type of mentality, he has that. However, in our marriage, I want a little bit more assistance with the children. I wanted more assistance in the kitchen. I wanted, because I felt like if I'm going to be working, which I want to work and I want to have my own business and things like that, we need to figure out how to make this thing work for us, balance, so to speak. So I came to him with the idea of, we look at marriage as a business, and you have a CEO, you have a COO. And we're both in this business together. We're equal. However, we both play different positions. But let's make sure that we're playing on our strengths. So if, I, as I do very well with peddling the books, you know what I'm saying? So I pay all of the expenses. I don't say bills because bills has a negative connotation and it triggers from my childhood. So I say expenses. So I take care of all of the expenses in the household, and he actually contributes to that joint account. So that's one of my strengths. I make sure everything is taken care of and paid on time every month. One of his strengths may be making sure that the vehicles are taken care of. They're getting their maintenance and things like that. So we have had to learn how to play on each other's strengths. And my husband is understanding. We've been married for 10 years now. It took some time to really get there because we were figuring this thing called marriage out. But we understood that our marriage doesn't have to look like everybody else's marriage. I respect my husband still being the head of my household. However, I still also will allow, would like him to help out with the children more, or to, just be more involved in that aspect. And that's something I didn't see growing up. My father wasn't involved in that way, but yet he was in the household. He couldn't tell you the names of my teachers. He was there, but he wasn't contributing in that way. So that's something I definitely wanted my husband to be more of a contribution to our marriage, so that he could be a part of the entire experience, not just, some of it.
It's quite interesting because that speaks to how we perceive gender role. To say, taking care of the kids, taking their bath, helping them with the homework, understanding the schoolwork, laying the bed, putting the kids to bed, dropping them in school. I mean, those house responsibilities, even cooking, right? That it's a woman's role. So we have those gender roles going on in relationship. But how can we teach our men to just understand that there is no gender role? Because it's like saying that a woman is the only one that can cook. Like, the question is, what happened to you? Weren't you a bachelor before? What cooked for you when you were a bachelor, right? Did you cook, right? So that when you now get married, you now start looking at your wife, that she must be, her place must be in the kitchen. She wants to take care of the bathroom and take care of the kids. I mean, how can we get our men to understand that we got to stop genderizing roles, and it's about the gift, it's about the strength. And also another thing that I'm going to talk about, once I get you to speak on this a little bit, is how we are allowing this gender role perspective to actually influence our children, because I'm going to speak on that in a little bit. So Sean, please chime in on this.
So I smiled when you talked about how we can teach our men. And the reason I smile is because this is one of the issues that I feel like I'm not sure how this is going to be fixed. I recently have been saying that unfortunately this generation, we happen to be a product of our parents' failures, in quote. With all due respect to all the parents who are listening, they also learn to do marriage the way they learn to do it from their parents. So a lot of our men learn to be fathers, the kind of fathers they are, from their parents. We grew up with a lot of, in my household, my mom made sure that my brothers were in the kitchen when we cooked. There was no difference. But you'd be surprised, in some households, the boys were not allowed to be in the kitchen. You were training the girls to say, oh, you get in the kitchen because you're going to have to learn to cook for your husband. That's the kind of mindset a lot of us were raised with. I'm not sure what can be done with this generation, honestly. Maybe if we have a little more men like you guys that have the mindset that where there's no gender roles, continue to educate more men and speak out and see how your marriage is successful, because whether we like to admit it or not, the rate of divorce is high because of those battles that we're fighting. And I'll tell you why. Now, women have come to a point where things are more advanced. We have more women who are boss ladies, who are CEOs. So now we're looking at it like, you know what? I don't belong in the kitchen. I love to cook. I'm talking about me now, but I hate to stand in the kitchen all day because there are many other things I have to do. Now what's happening? We're having women who are revolting and saying, no, I'm not meant for the kitchen. You join me. And the men are saying, no, I didn't grow up seeing my father do that. So you are just being westernized. You're now a feminist. You're now being wild or whatever. So really, to answer that question again, I'm not sure what can be done. Maybe we have more men that believe in the mindset that we are equal, can maybe organize seminars that will show the effectiveness and the success of your own marriages and that it's working. Maybe it would encourage more men.
I was listening to a man who says he doesn't spank his daughter because he feels she might think it is okay for a man to put his hands on her. Mm-hmm. But then what happens to your son? Is it okay to spank him? Wouldn't he look at you as being partial, loving his sister over him? So what do you say to this double standard that is happening in the house and is stemming from us not seeing each other as equal, and now it's trickling down to how we are raising our children? Dr. Jason. Dr. Jason, let me.
He's battling with that.
All right.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Am I on now?
Yes. I think it's better now.
Yes. Well, we have to look at the social factors. Socialization plays a very important role in what we do as parents. And so when we socialize, when we bring the cultures and the values to our family, then, they're perpetuated. So if you tell the boys one thing, you tell the girls something else, or the girls something else, or if you say, you know what, because in my culture, you were a boy and you were trying to linger around the kitchen, that was something else. And the girl, and if the girls were trying to play in the yard with a truck or some other, so it's like the girls belong in the kitchen and the guys belong outside. And so they're grooming the girls because they bought the doll houses. And so it's like I'm going to train you from now how to be a homemaker, not a businesswoman, not to tap into the potential of who God says you are, not to find your assignment, not to find your identity, not to find your purpose. Same thing for the men, the homemaker. There are a lot of women now who are making more than the men in the home. So what do you say then to that equation? How do you balance the equation? What is going to be a legitimate argument? Oh, well, now that your wife is making more than you, you really don't have a legitimate argument to say, well, making more qualifies you as the head of the home. Because back in the day, it was the breadwinner making more. I'm the male, I'm the patriarch. Mm-hmm. That's it. And so now we have to be able to zero in on the question of identity. What is our identity? And what are our roles? And your identity is not a wife. That's a role that you play. Your identity is in your creator. And when we don't understand the difference of identity and roles, we put everything in a pot and we want to make a nice soup that was given to us by society. But then you understand that your identity is not a husband. That is a function. That's a role that you play. Because there are a lot of husbands who are insecure still and don't want their wives to be who they're called to be. A lot of wives are insecure and they want to get their identity from their husband rather than God and rather than what they're called to do. And so we do have to have that conversation, that what are you transmitting psychologically? So, and just let me tell you this. I grew up in that culture, but as a child, I always talk differently. And I would want to know why my mother is so quiet and she's such an integral part of this house. Like when my dad is there, my mother cannot say anything, but my mother was a very strong woman. And I believe that what made my mother subject herself is because she didn't have the earning power. So after a while, you got 9 kids, you don't got no earning power. What are you trying to fight with this man about? And that's back in the day, not now. Yeah. These women in school, they have 9 kids and a degree, 9 kids and a master's, 9 kids and a PhD.
They're doing it.
And so they go along to get along, and it's like the power of the voice is grounded. You know what I'm saying? And so I would always wonder why it is that she has to manage the money, because he makes the money, but she manages the money. Then the house is together. then the cooking and the cleaning and the paying of them housekeepers and all of that stuff and the paying of her, because we were agronomist people. We had a little garden in the back and we sold stuff, and she has to manage all of that stuff, and then the kids. And then as soon as he shows up, 6 months after, I am Pumbaa Simba. I'm the head of this house. You know,
Right.
so and I always wonder, it's not until I became more educated, illumined, evolved, and I began to realize that there is something that is called roles. Identity rather, then roles, then functions. And then we have the dysfunction, obviously, that we have to deal with. And, you know, so I don't believe that salvation can come to the issue as easy as we are, in this generation. But what I believe that we can start with education.
Right.
Yeah, and us, we can, you know, like my wife is a very strong woman. She is a corporate executive. She has her own autonomy I have given. I don't tell her what she can't and can't do. All I need to know is if God will ask you to do that. And if God has called you to do it, you better go do it. Because she doesn't stop me from doing me. I don't stop her from doing her. And we both are autonomous, but within the context of the marriage, we respect each other's assignments, each other's purpose. And I believe that we have been the biggest cheerleaders for each other, you know, over the years. And so, you know, I see this. And you have to deal with men. I think I told you this, Dr. Femi, that I was once writing for a women's magazine. I wrote for the Men's Speak column. And a lot of women's husbands and stuff and people were very upset with me because I was bringing light to the situation, these very subject matters that women, you are created equal. You're created to dominate your assignment, not to be dominated by a man, not to be dominated by his ideologies, not to be dominated by philosophy. You are the Shulamite woman. We talk about Solomon. Solomon's name was Shulamman, and the Shulamite woman, who is Solomon's contemporary, is not spoken of. We talk about Adam, but we don't give Eve the same credence because Eve is the equal rib. She came from Adam, which was the structure and the order, but they were co-governing. He was the governor and she was the influencer. And so we see this and we don't come back to this place of originality. And so I believe that revelation, education, and proclamation, we will have to incorporate going forward if we are going to affect any kind of change. But I don't think it is easy in this current generation.
Yeah, it can be tough. And you had mentioned 3 powerful statements right there: phenomenon, education, revelation, and proclamation that we need to do. Speaking on originality, I think the problem that I see when speaking about this context of relationship equity is that, especially Christian, we don't understand the scripture very well, but we take one part of the scripture and allow that scripture to support what we are doing and not really see the scripture in its whole totality. And 2, we do not challenge culture and tradition. You know, we take what is being handed down to us and we say, okay, that is the way it's going to work. But it cannot work like that forever, especially if it's a man-made idea. I mean, a man that lived in 1950 is not the same man living in 2020. You can't say his ideology, the way we work in that society is stagnant and is the same today. And speaking about education, there's a statement that says the illiterate of today is not the person who cannot write or read. It's the person who cannot unlearn what they've learned so that they can learn a new information. So when we are stagnant in our thoughts, when we are fixated in our mindset of what we knew 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, how are you moving forward? How are you becoming a better version of yourself? Right. Unless what you know is backed up by the scripture, then the word of God is ever the same. But if it's a man-made ideology, man-made idea that is being handed down to us, I mean, you got to do your due diligence to change your perspective. I was speaking at a seminar one time, and I was talking about how men should hold hands with their wives, especially if your wives are asking you to hold hands, because it makes your wife feel that she's loved. And at the end of the seminar, a man who is in his 50s walked to me and said, "Wow, what you said is quite interesting." I said, "Thank you very much." He said he's having this kind of issue with his wife. I said, "What issue are you talking about?" It's like the wife wants him to be holding hands together. And he says, "I'm not going to hold hands with you." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because his parents have been married for many years and they did not hold hands. And their marriage is still the same." I said, "Wow, that is interesting." So, and then he went on to say, their marriage still stands, so they didn't divorce. So he doesn't think holding hands will break his marriage. I mean, not holding hands will break his marriage. I said, "You are right. Not holding hands will not break your marriage, but will it make your wife happy or not happy? It's about the happiness." See, majority of people want to just stay in the marriage, for 20, 50, 60 years, and they are not happy. Like, what are we doing? I mean, are we counting numbers?
Nobody's doing that anymore. What's the quality?
What is quality?
What's the quality?
So, and I challenged him. I said, your wife did not marry your dad, and you did not marry your mom. So you marry somebody different with different mindset. So you got to comply with what is going to make your relationship work, and it's going to make it healthy, and it's going to make your wife happy. That is how we should be looking at this situation, not of, this is what my parents did and it worked for them, and that means automatically it must work for me. No. I mean, as long as you're not marrying your dad and you're not marrying your mom, you got to look at it in a different way. Now, I got to ask this question. And Dr. Jason kind of spoke a little bit about this. In this modern day, we have women who are making way more than the men. And some of our men are not happy with this because they feel that their roles have been shifted. They feel inferior to their wives. In any little argument, they easily assume that the wife is disrespecting them because she's making more. Now, look here. I know you have a program that talks about taming your tongue, right? So, and I'm not trying to imply anything right here, but I just want you to have it at the back of your mind while you answer this question. How can our women be sensitive to this situation, especially if you are making more than your man? I know and I understand that the man should not feel inferior about this, but how can we help the woman understand the reality that the man you are dealing with is from a whole school, his mind is different, especially if he's not exposed to this kind of teaching? So how can you help deal with his inferiority?
That's good. So you are speaking to my Tame Your Tongue Tuesdays. One thing I have learned as a wife is that there is, of course, life and death in the power of the tongue. And I know that I can emasculate my man or I can build him up. That's just something I know. You talk about the power of influence. That's why I always talk about to my wives, the power of the P. And that has everything to do with your position in your marriage. And so what I would do is first understand it has a lot to do with ego. It has a lot to do with ego because my husband, at one point was making more money than I was. And then, of course, when business started taking off and things started, working in our favor, I was making more, but guess what? His ego wasn't affected. We sat down beforehand and kind of figured out, mapped this thing out. How are we going to handle, our finances when we get to this? So we start making this amount of money. What are our goals? So we really, as was said earlier, we started looking at the partnership. But when you have that conversation or with that couple where the husband may need you to approach it a little more delicately, I say, women, this is where you tap into the power. This is where you tap into your power of influence and understand that you're on the same team. Like, there should not be an issue where you're talking down to him because you're making more, just like you wouldn't want him talking down to you. I think that's where we lose the equality. Right. We're supposed to approach each other with the same compassion, with the same understanding. And so I think really coming to that man and understanding, look, my money is your money. Your money is my money. You know, if that's how y'all handle it in your household. Tone is everything. Making sure that when you are having that conversation that you are, again, just being genuinely compassionate about what is the real issue. Asking him what's the issue. Like, what is your problem with me having or making more money or generating more income? Like, really see if he can be transparent and vulnerable. If that's the type of relationship you have, where he can say, this is why I feel this way. Because again, it goes back to how we were raised. It goes back to our ideologies of a man being the head of the household and being the provider. So if my husband came in my marriage, again, thinking that he's just supposed to provide, and I strip him of the only role he believes he's supposed to have, then what is his value now in the marriage? That may be how he's looking at it. But I have to let him know, I need you to be more than just a provider. I need you to provide emotionally, sexually, intellectually. You know, really, my husband's a very intelligent man. So having him to talk to me about business, maybe I need you to help me make more business decisions and things like that. I think that's important, to where money is not the only contribution you're making to this relationship, but there's other ways that you contribute and be just as valuable, if not more.
Yeah. Money really doesn't determine if you're a man or if you're a woman. It's like we're kind of saying that, you know, if I'm the one making all the money, that means I get to be the man. And that is the mindset. Like, I get to control, I get to make all the decision. Now, the question to the man, and Sean, please, I want you to think about the question that I asked Lakia earlier, but I just want to throw this a little bit for the man. If you're already thinking that making money gives you power to control and influence everything in the family, what happens when you lose your job? Does that mean you're no longer a man? You know, does that mean that you have no say in that house anymore? Like, you are voiceless. You gotta stay mute. And that is the problem, because it really breaks a man down when he loses his job or he's not making that money anymore. He's not going to voice out to his wife. He's quiet. You know, that's when he starts, you know, doing all kind of crazy things, getting drunk, you know, becoming abusive. I mean, it's like we cannot keep looking at money and helping it to dictate that if you are the man or you are not. All right, Sharon, that just popped up in my mind, and I just wanted to share that before I lose that.
Right. Amazing. Basically, I feel like honestly, it still brings me back down to coming together as friends. We need to focus more on building the friendship. That way, we look at marriage as a joint effort. And that way, when a man is no longer making the money, he doesn't even feel it that he's not making it. I mean, we are in a world now, like you said, where more women are making more money. So what is your approach as the woman? Yes, some women do get arrogant when they feel like they're making more money. So maybe we need to tone down the arrogance. That way you don't bruise his ego. Yeah. Because whether we like it or not, men are created with the ego. Even right from when they were babies. I think it's just inborn, right? So you have to be able to tend to his ego. A lot of people don't like it when we say that. They're like, why do I have to keep tending to his ego? It's a man thing, okay? So as a woman, you should not, you know, put it on your head like, oh, I'm making most of the money. You know, at least you're not doing anything. It's all for the family. So it really shouldn't matter who's making more. So that's the part of the woman. Now, when it comes to the man, if you do see your wife as equal, if you see her as your friend, if you see her as your partner, it wouldn't matter if she makes more than you are making. But what I'm seeing now is a lot of men, gosh, should I go there?
Please
a lot of men see their wives as property, as something they own. So she cannot have power. She cannot make more money than I'm making. There's no way. And that in itself is already a start of a problem. Okay. And that's why we even see some men who are actually stopping their wives from actually becoming what they're supposed to be. Miss Lakia just mentioned that her husband, he doesn't stop her from being who she has become. They talked about it. Thank God for the mindset. It comes back to the mindset we have. Can I please challenge Dr. Renville from what he said about the divine arrangement? You have the mindset and you see the divine arrangement as we were made as equal. God made us as equal. But do you know there's some men who would argue and say the fact that God created Adam first means that he's ahead or is above the woman. And the fact that the woman was created out of the ribs of Adam means Adam is superior to Eve. So it's all about the mindset. So I think we should all just change our mindset when it comes to these things and how we view marriage as a whole.
Dr. Raven.
Yeah, wow. I'm gonna respond to that quickly.
Yes, please do.
Absolutely. I'm gonna respond to that, and then I'm gonna follow up with the other one.
Okay.
Yes, when God says let us make man as in gender, Adam was a prototype. And so this is what I would say to men. Adam was a prototype. It's just like you make a first series BMW, and then you say, okay, make one, and then God had a structure. That's how anything you make, you have a prototype and a blueprint. Adam was the prototype and the blueprint. And so let's walk down through scripture. God took Eve from the side, meaning that Adam was already perfectly made. So he got a rib from Adam, meaning in the translation from the Aramaic and the Hebrew that God got the structure from, he took the structure from Adam. See? And so he made Eve, which was a second version of Adam. Mind you, when Eve was being made, Adam was asleep. In the Aramaic and the Hebrew, it means he was temporarily dead. Even though the structure came from Adam, the life, the breath, the spirit didn't come from Adam. It came from the Creator. So her identity and her permission to live is from her Creator. God used Adam as the prototype so there could be simulation. So when he looked at Eve, he saw himself. He said, she is woman. Womb from a man. Bone of my bone, which means she's exactly my structure. I can hang with her. We can relate. Flesh of my flesh. Ideologies, paradigms, and philosophies. The divine properties that are needed for us to co-govern. Then God said, let them, Adam and Eve, have dominion over the earth, not each other. He never said to Adam, I need you to control or dominate Eve. He made Adam the governor and Eve the governess. Adam was for structure and Eve was the influencer. Right. And so when the men come in and they talk about that, what they're relegated to is the curse of misappropriation and all of that stuff. But if we get theological, the second Adam redeemed the woman from every curse. That is Jesus. And so now she's back. She's in her original place. And I said to theologians, talk to me before the fall so we can get the original pattern, not after the fall. We messed up the fall, not God. God's original intent is for us to co-govern, commingle, coexist, and understand what our power is. Everything that is the man that is a projector is the woman that is a receptor. You see, everything that the man is projecting, the woman is she is receiving. So identity is in God, and understand your assignment. So I had to clear that up, and I'm gonna cut that short to segue into this. We're talking about the women and the making of the money and stuff like that. I think if you, as a man, if you first know who you are in God, and you understand who you are, you shouldn't have a problem with that. Whatever she makes and whatever she doesn't make, that doesn't make you. The issue is, are you comfortable enough to engage in a fair fight for change when there are issues? Issues are going to come up despite of who's making what, issues are gonna come up. And so if you understand who you are, you're gonna know that money doesn't define everything. Now, if you constantly sensitive, you constantly walk in an eggshell, and that woman can't say what's on her mind, say what she means, and say it in a respectful way without it really, you gotta find out where your head is and maybe some therapy and some stuff to get you oriented. Now, on the other side, some women now, because of what they saw happen to their mothers and their grandmothers, this subconscious position they have, and I'm always going to be independent, and you ain't gonna tell me nothing, and I'm gonna have one up on you, because if I am in the place of provision, then you really can't tell me certain things, and you really cannot, because if I keep, if I keep providing, or I make more or whatever, then I'm gonna speak as loud, and I'm gonna help to wear the and stuff, and that end up collapsing because you're building a relationship and stuff that is not principled anyway. So I would say healing is important, perspective is important, because if both of you are in a unit and you are working together, I'm pretty certain if you were to be honest, you will understand that there is gonna be issues and challenges and stuff, and there must be fair fight. What you mean fair fight for change? Fair fight that they got tough situations, you're gonna have to talk over. You're gonna have to bring things to the table. So is it that you're gonna be sensitive every time because, well, I believe because you're making more, this is why. Sometimes it is the case, but then you still have to get to the bottom of that, So we gotta come to a place of, number one, knowing who we are, and number two, being educated and getting the necessary tools. Maybe you need to get a family and marriage therapist, a clinical therapist, a counselor to give you some orientation. Because, I remember one time I was believing in some paradigms, and I went to a psychologist, and my wife encouraged me. My wife actually is a therapist by practice. And I went and I was telling the doctor. So the doctor let me do my own therapy, diagnosis and everything, and Dr. Crosker. And I remember I said to him, well, you know why I believe that? Because that is I said, I reserve the right to my personal power. And Dr. Kraska said to me, that's not personal power. Now, up until he said that to me, I believed it was my personal power. He said, no, it's selfishness. And I stopped and I looked at him. He said, that's selfishness. That's kind of selfish. And I said, wow. So you have to have the people. You have to have the conversations. You have to be open. You have to have the qualified people, whether they're spiritual leaders, they're psychotherapists, counselors, talk show, different individuals and voices that will come in and help to give you the orientation. And you have to be open, because sometimes you're sincere and you're sincerely wrong, So you've got to be open to the conversation, and you have to be open to the content of the conversation being aligned to the blueprint of what it should be, so that you can be willing to change.
Right. Wow. Powerful. Before I chime in on that real quick, I just want to shout out to everyone watching us on Facebook, those that have shared this broadcast. If you have not shared this broadcast, just click the share button. Be an hero or shiro in someone's life so that they can be blessed with these. This will save someone's marriage today. We're trying to save someone's marriage today. We don't want to wait till next 2-3 weeks. We want to change it tonight. So please click that share button. Shout out to Davida, Adenike, Adeto, Joe. So many of you, your comments, please keep them going. Folks on Instagram, I see you. First, number one, Grace, Anthony, so many of y'all. Black Film, my brother, I see you. Pretty near, I see you. Murphy, I see you. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to this dialogue. Speaking about theology, and it's quite interesting how Dr. Jason just kind of went back to the Genesis and seeing things from the context of God and from his own eyes or his own image. And I just want to throw one major Bible verse that is so interesting to me. It's in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11, verses 11 through 12. In the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 11 through 12. It says that in the Lord, now, in the Lord, meaning that in the eyes of the Lord, a woman is not independent of a man, nor a man independent of a woman. For a woman is created out of a rib of a man, and likewise, a man is born out of a woman, and they are both created by God. That is to tell everyone, both wives and husbands, that you are codependent. You are having an interdependent relationship. You depend on one another. You are not superior to me. I'm not superior to you. We are on the same level. But then someone will come and say, oh, but Bible says, wives, you should submit to your husband. What? Yes, I know that scripture very well. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22. And here is what I tell those people. Have you read Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21, which says, both husband and wife submit to one another as a respect to God. So people are not really understanding the scripture very well. They're not understanding this. And we are just fighting this up and down. Now, let me, Sean spoke about men seeing women as property. You know, it goes back to this thought of, and this ideology and this culture and this tradition of paying bride price. When you pay bride price, you know, and Lakia, I'm not sure if you heard about it because you're in America.
I've seen it on 90 Day Fiance.
So, okay, all right. So you've seen that.
All right.
So you have this connotation, this ideology and practice of paying bride price. And when you do that, it means that you actually bought that person. That individual has become your property. So in the relationship, when you pay the bride price, I mean, you get to say anything you want to say as a man. The woman has no voice. Now, it is changing where we are seeing some fathers who will actually say, okay, I understand this culture. We take your money, but before the wedding is over, they'll return the money back. Like, no, I'm not selling my daughter because my daughter is not for sale. And I don't want a situation where you are going to be abusing my daughter. So we need to understand that we got to challenge culture. We got to challenge tradition. Things that are not working today, don't let all those things that worked 50 years ago to work in your relationship. Don't let that dominate your relationship. It's going to lead you to become abusive. Do you see how many abusive men? I mean, I know there are abusive women too, but do you know how many abusive men are out there because of power? And I was telling someone, the reason why a man wants to lay his hand on a woman is because it feels like he's more powerful than the woman. It's everything about the power. That's it. Nothing else.
Amen.
There is nothing else. So we got to stop this power issue that we are facing in our relationship. Sharon, I think you might want to say something to that.
Whew, I have a lot to say. All right. You know, and the reason I say I have a lot to say is, you know, I started to have my voice on social media and about 2016, about 4 years ago right now. And when I did start, it was very offensive to a lot of men, African men, because number one, it was not normal to see an African woman come out and just be that vocal. I got a lot of, you know, backlash. Wow, you're now westernized. It's because you're now in America. Now you have a voice. Now you're speaking against men. You know, I think it goes back to that same mindset. I will keep hammering on the mindset. And I think you just mentioned that, GFM. Let's even put religion aside. Let's put culture aside. Let's put tradition aside. Let's go back to learning and unlearning. We have to unlearn to relearn. Change the mindset about marriage as a whole. That, I believe, will change a lot of things. Because yes, religion is doing its own thing. Thank God for people like Dr. Renville and you, GSM. You're quite spiritual and quite grounded in religion, right? In what your religious belief, but you still believe in fair treatment of your wife. Unfortunately, there's some people who are very religious, but still use the same Bible, right? and use that to treat their wives unfairly. You will see some men who say women are not supposed to speak in the church, and they will go in that same Bible and bring out a part of the Bible that says a woman is supposed to be quiet. Okay, so it's all about the mindset. We all need to change it because, again, if we do not change this mindset, we're going to continue to see the increase in divorce. Because what's happening is there's a revolution.
Yeah.
The women are finding their voices. And women are saying, you know what, rather than stay married, I'm doing well by myself, because a lot of our mothers, we found, stayed in the marriage because they were financially dependent on the man. Okay, so now we're having women who are now financially liberated. They're not going to stay and accept the treatment. They'll rather leave. And what are we doing to the institution of marriage? We're actually destroying the foundation.
Interesting.
Okay, it's very important.
Very, very, very. Lakia, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that.
No, that was good. She did. I loved how she just broke it down, going back to what Dr. Jason was saying as well. Like really getting to the point where we can unlearn. Like everything you're saying is spot on. Yes, go back to the original design. But if we're not showing folks that what they're doing is wrong, like by being the example of showing you this is a different way of seeing marriage. This is a different way of showing up as a husband and wife. And this is how y'all both can be a power couple. And, you know, all of these things that we're not showing that. And we're still pretty much perpetrating the way things have always been. I don't see this changing anytime soon. No. That's why you have us, you know, pretty much speaking up. Like, hey, I'm showing my wives that there's a different way that you can show up in your marriage. You can have a voice in your marriage. You can talk to your husband about the things that are challenging you or that are getting on your nerves, but you can tame your tongue at the same time. And taming your tongue does not mean you can't speak. It's understanding how to speak to your man with respect so he can speak to you with respect. It's those things that we don't learn, you know, when we're looking at, I told you I look at TV, 90 Day Fiance and stuff like that. You know, that's our model. And we're looking at that as this is what marriage is supposed to be, the Real Housewives of Atlanta or any city you want to live. You know, so we have to unlearn so that they can relearn. I love that you said that.
Yes.
It's an interesting thing that I want to say. I'm going to share two stories real quick. One story is just to elaborate and just expose us that what we are discussing now, the relationship equity, the absence of it is actually leading to divorce for many homes and chaos. A client wrote to me and said, oftentimes I have what I characterize as silly arguments and unnecessary fight with my wife based on my perception that her quest for equality is uncalled for or shouldn't be within the confines of marriage. Put simply, we fight about this a lot, and she mostly links it or compares it with whether or not I love her. So, man, when you are not allowing your wife to voice her opinion, when you don't see her as co-founder of your relationship, as a partner in your relationship, she actually thinks that you don't love her. She actually thinks that you are not expressing love to her. Now, I want to switch gear a little bit and then speak about making decisions together as a couple. Because I see when men feel like they are the domineering one, they are the one that they have to make all the decisions, they don't consult their wives because they feel like I'm the man and I make all the decisions. I don't have to call you or consult you on that. Let me share a story of what happened to me recently. I was on a call with an African-American lady who wants to sell a product to me. At the end of the sales call, I told her that I need to talk to my wife and we'll get back to her because she wanted me to make a decision right there. I said, I have to discuss with my wife and then I will get back to you. And she was shocked by what I said. She asked, am I from Nigeria? I said, yes, I'm from Nigeria. She said she's dated so many African men, so many Nigerian men, that they are the ones that will make decisions, that she's surprised that I'm going to have to engage with my wife in order to make a decision. I said, wow, well, I do things differently.
So
I'm a leader of all, not a leader of none. Whoever I'm leading, I have to carry them along. They have to be in on the decision. I mean, I don't have all the 360 degree angle of everything. I mean, if I'm with my wife, we can both collaborate together and see the right decision that we need to make. So oftentimes, we see men making decisions in isolation and not engaging their wife. And guess what? It backfires on them. You know, they get to hear, you know, I told you so, okay? I told you don't do it, but then you went ahead, you allow your ego and your mindset of, I am the man, I got to make all the decisions. Dr. Jason, what do you have to say to those men who feel that all the decisions got to come from them, as if they have all the knowledge in the world? Let me unmute you.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, I mean, going back to the other speakers, you know, the two women in here, they have pointed out something very important, is that if you are building a union,
yeah,
and you are building a relation, not a sinking ship, relationship. The word relationship comes from the, if you were to say a ship that you could rely on, it came from the game that they did in Greek, the relay race. It was expected that you run your leg and hand over the baton to someone else and take over. Now, if the baton was dropped, then it means I gotta run back to where you drop it and pick it up. So if you understand the dynamics of a relationship, and you are in a relationship, and you are equally vested, and that, you know, in that relationship, and you understand that the two of you are equal but roles are different, you are going to, and you're submitted to each other, mutual submission. It means that you are going to seek, you're going to make relationships. You just can't, you're going to seek counsel, rather, to make decisions. And so you just don't decide to buy a house. Voila, here the house is. Come on in. Voila, this is where the car is. You know, no, there's certain, let me say, for instance, my marriage, because every marriage is different and there is no rule book. However, principles don't ever change. Like my wife, she knows that, my wife knows that, she knows exactly the extent of what decisions she can make without consulting me. And I know the extent of what decision, you know, because I can make a consulting her. We're not over here calling, can I give so-and-so $50? Or can I spend this at the grocery? I don't have the time. Listen, I don't have the time of day for you, you know, for you to be calling me, asking me, can I? Now, if that is a dynamic in your relationship, it's okay. And it works for you. But, you know, but we have we have boundaries, and we discuss things. And so we know the boundaries within which we operate, you know, and we bring things together, and then she knows what she can make without me. And basically, because we've been together for a little minute now, not too long, 16 years. So, you know,
you trying to humble yourself, huh? I see that.
Listen, I've learned that 16 years now is like 16 days, you know, and you just live one day at a time. You know, yeah. So you cannot expect to be, what if your wife is a technocrat in a specific area that you are ignorant? Not that I'm costing anyone, but what if your wife is more skilled with money? What if she understands more about a specific thing? What are you gonna do? Just make a decision and then call? No. So you have to, because you have to share, if you understand the concept of shared responsibility, and you're building a unit, then, you know, you don't get to make decisions because you are the head. Even as a CEO, ultimately, you may have to make a decision sometimes, and the two of you discuss it, and then my wife will be like, okay, what do you think? This is what I think, but it's discussed. But there is no CEO now that, well, this form of leadership is failing. It's called scientific leadership in big corporations, where it was top-up heavy, where the CEO just makes a decision and expects everybody else to execute that decision. Now they have what you call authentic leadership, servant leadership, what you call inclusive leadership, you know, and instructional leaderships and all of those forms of leadership that cause organizations to fail are no longer working. And so you have to include individuals that you are a part of, because it gives that sense of community and respect. And it comes back to this. If you see yourself above your spouse, then you are more apt to decide that your law is the law and your decision is the decision, And we gotta be able to learn to have relationships first with ourselves. I know we are on the marriages and but most people are not working on who they are. They're looking for somebody to save them out of their mess. And this is why they end up marrying, because they want to save you or someone to cover the mess. And when you come into the relationship with all of that stuff, then now you have these clashes. And you have these ideologies, and you have everybody in their grandma. This is how we did sweet potato pies for 20 years. And I'm telling you, I am not going to give it up. But your grandma is not in your home. You know what I'm saying? So you got to ask yourself certain things. Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be right? Do you want to be... But you got to begin to explore the options and see what's before you. And say, hey, you know what? I think one of the things I want to highlight, and I think this young woman from Nigeria highlighted, how are we going to begin to train our young men and women? This is what we got to do. We have to begin to teach people to have better relationships with themselves first. Behold, reconciled to you before you are going to be reconciled to anybody else. Because you never truly be whole and joined to that person if you have not reconciled to you as an individual. And then when you come into that marriage or that situation, you're a better person.
Yeah, I think that's a great start to teach young men and women how to have a better relationship with themselves. I mean, I said this before, that being single is not a status. Being single is a state of mind, because being single, as a matter of fact, you have to be single even in your marriage, because being single is looking at you. What are my goals? What are my vision? What do I need to do to better myself? So you have to do that throughout your marriage, because if you're not improving on thyself, there is going to be that disparity between you and your partner. When one partner is better than the other, education-wise, in other areas as well, and you feel this disparity, like, I cannot relate with you, you cannot relate with me. We don't have anything in common. Okay? And sometimes when we see that happen in the relationship, either one, the person who has transformed, or who has grown, who has evolved, is not cognizant of their evolvement, and they are not communicating to their partner, here are the changes now. I'm no longer the person you married. I no longer do this the way I used to do them. I no longer eat this type of food anymore. I'm a healthy man now. And all the other person is also not paying attention, not observant of the changes, and they are not working on themselves. So being single is something that we gotta go through prior to marriage and even while we are married. Now, I think Sean probably wants to say something regarding what has been said so far, and then I will hear the thought from Lakir.
Actually, my head is all over, but I wanted to quickly touch on, because this is a favorite topic of mine. I want to really quickly touch on love and submission, okay? Okay. Because I believe that that's a very essential part that we need to see. A lot of men dwell on this wives submit to your husband thing. Now, let's take it back. The Bible says, men, love your wives, right? Let's look at the characteristics, because we all have what the Bible wants us to do, right? Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It does not keep record of wrongs. It does not delight, it protects, it trusts, it hopes and perseveres. That's how the Bible puts love. Those, if you look also at that, those are also great characteristics of a good leader, right? Now, for women who you're supposed to submit to your husband, I want men to out there to try this. Love your wife, truly love your wife, and watch if she would not submit. A woman who's truly loved, a woman who's truly included, who's truly included in making decisions, like Dr. Femi said, would have no problem submitting. Try it. I mean, I don't know how many men are listening, but it's just unfortunate that men don't listen to these things. They're quick to throw it in our faces. You're not submitting to me. But if you have a situation where it's difficult for a woman to submit, go and check at your leadership style. Go and check at your true ability to love as a husband. And then we could come back and check why your wife is not submissive.
Because I was going to ask a question relating to that. I think you kind of answered that question. I've seen men who make reference of, women have to submit and women are not submitting, or or their wives are not respecting them at home. And the same wife will pay more respect to her boss, a male boss, or pay respect to a pastor, a male pastor, than him as the husband. So men fight with that how come she's not respecting me? Or even if a visitor comes in the house, maybe that's when the woman will bring out the best dishes. Maybe that's when she will make the, prepare the, go all out. But then when it comes to the husband, I mean, she's only just giving him the crumbs and the leftover, the quality of the food, the service is not there. So men say this, that they're not being treated as a king in their home. Why are we not being treated as kings in our home? Is it because we have not loved you the way you want to be loved?
That's good. That's good. You know what? Because men crave respect and women crave love. So as we respect our men, in turn, they love us and vice versa, right? But that type of love that you just described, I love that definition of love, of course, 1 Corinthians, right? 13, it takes a level of maturity. Like marriage will mature you or it will expose the immaturity in you. And that takes a certain level of maturity to be able to love that woman. I'm talking about unconditionally, because see, we put conditions on love. Yes. See, I'll put conditions on the respect. Well, if you don't do what I asked you to do, then I ain't gonna respect you. No, that's not marriage. What we doing? We immature. We need to grow up. And that's one thing I had to look at. You talk about being single and the mindset. I had to look at myself. Why do you resort to talking to your man like this? Where's that coming from? How can you ask this man to love you that way and you're disrespecting him with if it's not by words, it's your body language, it's your demeanor. You know how you can walk in the house. Come on, man. You can walk in the house and you can feel what mood your woman in. See, that's understanding our power. But we would use our power to manipulate. Not to influence, not to, to build up. We will use it to destroy. So that's a level of maturity. I think it's really going to take us continuing to grow as partners. Everybody's marriage. That's what you said. You were what, Dr. Renville? You said you were married 16 years, and it's like 16 long days. We'll say 16 long days, right? It takes every year for you to grow and become that type of leader, that type of wife, where, like you said, submission won't be an issue. You know what I'm saying? We will submit to each other, in fact. My husband and I submit to each other. Because if not, there will be a power struggle.
Yes, absolutely. If we don't submit to one another, there will be a power struggle. But what happens in a situation? And Dr. Jason, I want to get your thought on this. In homes, many homes, I mean, all the homes, as a matter of fact, husband and wife, they will always have to make some kind of either decision related to the school the kids will go to, decision relating to paying bills, where we're going to go for vacation. There is always some type of decision. And with that decision, there is always going to be opinion from both sides. Now, your wife says this, has her own opinion, has her own idea. You have your own idea. How can we now make a decision on one idea when we have the mindset that we must both submit to one another? So what are we going to do in the situation where we have to pick a decision? We have to pick a decision, and then everyone has advice. What are we going to do? What should we do?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a very large, locked and loaded scenario. Normally, if we were to be honest, if we want to look at this practically, normally when there is that level of confusion in the home, there is deeper issues. There is issues of unforgiveness. There is issues of mistrust. There is issues that are bleeding that were never unresolved issues. Because that now, those incongruencies and those distortions, it's like in counseling they refer to them as, there are communication styles, believe it or not. Somebody along the way has felt as though they were not respected, or they have not been healed, they have not been respected, their voice, their opinions. And so now I'm going to show you that it don't matter whatever you say, even if it's reasonable, I'm gonna refute it. I'm gonna protect myself, protect my voice, protect whatever that I have dignity left. And so, because there's always this power struggle. So you have to get to the bottom of why. It's usually a wider issue that is causing those levels of distortions and not being able to compromise or make a decision. Because in no marriage you always agree on where to go every time. But if you love and you have a level of respect, you give in, and you're like, okay, you really don't sweat it like that. You know what I'm saying? You know, your wife knows what you like, you know what she likes, and then maybe if you have the kids involved, and but generally speaking, from my experience, personal experience, and even observations, and even studies and reading and case studies and different people that I've counseled and interacted with, whenever there are a multiplicity of disagreements and distortions and all of these different issues that are surfacing, there are wider issues that are occurring at the core level, in the heart, in the soul, in the decision, in the trust, in the leadership, in the unit, in the community of the family, which need to be addressed. And sometimes you may have to get a therapist, or you may have to get the slam dunk by the Holy Spirit, however you want to get it, wherever you want to get it from. But the truth of the matter is, there are other issues that are underlying that have not been dealt with, that is causing you to be in that level of confusion, distortion, and disagreement in your home.
Yeah, I tend to look at it from telling my clients, let's talk about the root of the problem, not just the fruit. So there's a difference between the root and the fruit. So we see the fruit a lot, but we cannot confuse the fruit with the root. Once we can identify the root, then we can actually solve this problem forever. All right, I think, Shane, you might want to add something, and then we will deal with one more question before we round up on this dialogue this evening. It's been amazing. I mean, to see Dr. Jason, Sheon, and Lakia coming out. I really appreciate you guys. But one more question before we round up today. But just in case Sheon has anything to say to anything that has been said so far.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good right now because let's just take the last question.
Okay, so let's take this last question. And that question is, some people think equality is 50-50 split or 60-40 split. Okay. I mean, to each their own, right? To each their own. But let's just talk about this. Is this an issue to have such mindset that as long as I'm bringing 60% of my money and you bringing 40% of your money, using that to pay the bills, we're good. That is equality. Lakia, you go first, please.
Absolutely not. Marriage is not 50-50. And I was rudely awakened when I got married, because I honestly thought if I wash the clothes, you fold them. If I wash the dishes, or, you cook, I really thought that was the equality in marriage. But I had to mature when it came to my mindset with, what does that really mean? Like, what does balance look like? For us, this week, it might be 70-30. Next week, it might be 60-40. The following week, it might be 50-50, depending on what's going to make our household run the way it needs to run. We have 2 small kids. We both are business owners. My business, I can work from home. My husband is out in the field. So it's understanding what works for us. And I had to stop looking at marriage as being fair and unfair. Like, it's unfair. It's unfair that I have to be the one that does all of this. But if this is what's helping us in this season to keep our marriage afloat, then play your role. You know what I mean? Like, and in the same, the tables may turn when the seasons change, and my husband has to step up and be a little bit more, present than in a previous season. So when we look at the objective, at the end of the day, what is our goal? What is our mission as a family? What is our vision statement as a family? As long as we are working toward that goal together and we are in a partnership, then we're winning. So I had to stop looking at it as 50-50, because right there, that mindset right there will get you messed up when it comes to marriage.
Yeah. And also, like you said, looking at what is the goal of the family. Are
Yes.
we working towards the common goal? Because oftentimes the husband has his own personal goal, the wife has her own personal. Everybody's just on different tangents. Okay? We are not coming together and we are not working towards unison. So it's quite important to think that way. All right, Shaun, what's your input, please?
I mean, where are these numbers coming from? That's the question I ask. Like, I believe every family, every marriage should do what works for their family. Just having in mind that we carry each other along with love and respect. Are you giving your husband what you cannot accept? Are you giving your wife what you cannot accept? How are you treating your partner? It's not about the percentage of who's doing what or whatever. Let's just treat each other with enough respect, like we need to. This is one ideology. I'm very feminist, because I believe that women should have equal access to opportunities that men have. Now, do I believe in feministic ideas when it comes to marriage? No, I don't. Someone might ask me, well, maybe you're not a true feminist, because yes, feminism should also be part of the home. Here's what I think. I believe that the man is the head of the home. But I also believe that the woman is the neck. And can the neck work without the head? No. Can they work without each other? No. If they work together, there will be peace in the home. So please do what works for you in your home, but make sure you're both respecting, honoring, and loving each other. That's what I have to say.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that excellent point. Dr. Jason, please go ahead.
Wow, I agree with my sisters. Absolutely. I do believe that, 50-50. Marriage is not 50-50. Marriage is whatever it takes at the time relative to the season. And so I've learned that. And, I have a different ideology about the 50-50. I said, listen, it's 100 times 100. It's 100, And so it comes back to perspective, ideology, and what you have learned, the learned behavior. And so if you understand that it's whatever it takes, of course, there are dynamics in marriages that you would have to work out at times when there's issues of ironing things out, of fear, fight for change. Somebody may not be carrying the weight or the load, but if you love and you respect and it's done in a manner that is respectful, are you showing up in the marriage for that person as you would want them to show up for you? That's what you have to ask yourself. How are you showing up? And if you're not making an effort to show up in a manner that that you want them to show up for you, then you have an issue there, because that lets me know that you're not bringing the full intent and energy of whatever it takes to show up as a whole person in the moment. Whether it's love, whether it's respect, whether it's, whether it is honor, whether it's dignity, it's decency. It's whatever it takes in the moment relative to the season that you are in. This week it may be 50-50, tomorrow it may be 70, some weeks it may be 100-0. This is why you gotta come in with 100%. And the person gotta be, because what if they de-escalate to 0 and you're still in 100, your current things, and then they bounce back, and there's resilience and perspective. So it's whatever it takes in a respectful, in an honoring, loving, in a reciprocal understanding, bringing the best for the community as possible.
Absolutely. Showing up. I love the word showing up. And you all have showed up today, tonight. National Relationship Equity Day launch. Come on now.
Yes,
My people. Thank you.
Listen, we are part of history.
You are part of history.
Yes, we made history.
This is an inaugural event, historical event.
Historical, monumental.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jason. Where can people find you?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to share this afternoon, Facebook, but Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever there is social media platforms, you type in Jason Rendell and I should pop right up.
Absolutely. And then Lakia, where can people find you?
Well, thank you again, Dr. Femi. I have enjoyed tonight's discussion, tonight's dialogue. You can follow me on Instagram. I am an Instagram girl at The Wife Coach. I'm also on Facebook if you want to hang out with me there. Just look up my name, Lakia Brandenburg.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lakia, for joining us on this monumental breakthrough platform and National Relationship Equity Day launch. I appreciate that. My sister, Sheon Obajolo, where can my people follow you?
Oh my, I'm also on Instagram and I'm on Facebook as Sheon Obajolo. Thank you so much for having me. I believe we need to have more of these discussions, and you are saving lives. You are saving marriages, and it's essential that we all continue to have this discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate everyone. Those that joined us online on Facebook, on Instagram, God bless you. For those that have been sharing this broadcast, thank you. Click the share button. Let's share that. And also the banner for National Relationship Equity Day. If you have not shared that banner, please do so. Today, it is the launch of National Relationship Equity Day. So please share that banner. We just want to save thousands of marriages. We want to establish relationship equity. We want to restore peace. We want to install gender equity in these marriages, in this relationship, because you can actually maximize your family unit. There's a lot that you can gain from your potential spouse and from each other as well. So how can you work with me on achieving this goal? One, share that banner that I've been talking about. It's on my page. The banner for National Relationship Equity Day. Just copy and post the same banner on your page with the hashtag National Relationship Equity Day. Or better yet, you can just take a picture of yourself. Either you are single or you're in a relationship. It doesn't matter. Take a picture this evening. Share that picture with the hashtag National Relationship Equity Day. Everyone loves a quick picture. I got to say that very well. All right. And lastly, switch roles today with your partner. Okay, switch roles. What do I really mean? Whatever role that has been assigned to a particular gender in your relationship, let the other gender do it. The idea about this is to practice not making an activity a gender role, but your interest, your gift, your skill set leading the way. What are some of these roles? You may know them, but let me just give you an example. Maybe changing diapers, maybe cooking, making decisions, laying the bed, teaching the kids, bathing the kids, taking them to bed, taking the trash out, washing dishes, fixing something around the house, sweeping the floor, washing the bathroom. You know all the roles you're playing in your home. Whatever the ones that have been genderized, break that genderism out of it, okay? Switch those roles. You may just pick one and just switch that. because we need to achieve gender equity in the relationship, okay? And by doing that, it will allow the other person to appreciate or to feel appreciated, and for you to also understand what it takes to do the work that the other person does in your relationship. In the meantime, share this broadcast on your timeline. Follow me on social media, IG, Facebook. It is GFM Speaks with an S. Twitter at GFM Radio. Let's make 2020 the year of relationship equity. I am yours truly, Dr. Femi Ogunjinmi, global relationship expert. And as my Kenya people call me, Oyango. If my Kenya people are watching me this evening, I appreciate you. Yes, to your improvement, my people. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate y'all. God bless.